Hello and welcome to Retirement Ready TV. I'm Michelle Davidson, and joining me this week, just like every week, is the power couple in retirement planning in the CLE, Tim and Laura Schultz of Preservation Retirement Services, the two best people in Cleveland to sit down with and have a real conversation about your retirement plan. Welcome, Tim and Laura.
We're excited.
Always.
We got a lot to go. Yeah, we got a lot to go over, don't we?
A lot to cover. Okay.
Always do.
Today's show is full of great information for anyone who's thinking that they need to start preparing for retirement, or if you're already voluntarily unemployed.
Yes. Yeah, we don't like to call it retirement, voluntarily unemployed. We're all going to get there someday, right?
It sounds better. It really does.
It does.
And this week we start with the basics. And as a beginner, where should people start with their retirement planning? Then it's time for women to get retirement ready, where Laura is going to answer a question on financial issues that women care about. Well, Tim, you're going to take us to Lightboard. What are we going to talk about there?
We are going to build a house today.
Okay.
A money house.
A fiscal house.
Yeah, I can't build a written house, but I can build a money house with you, and it's going to be fun.
And it's going to be, it always is, isn't it?
It is. That Lightboard is amazing.
It's amazing. All right, then we will flip to the other end of the spectrum and answer the question, is it too late for a retirement plan? And wrap up with a conversation about market volatility. So yeah, a jam-packed show, a lot to cover. So let's get to it.
Do it.
Okay, well, there's so much to keep track of when it comes to retirement.
We just talked about 6 different things.
Yes. We've got income, market volatility, tax-efficient strategies, legacy planning, long-term care. Okay, how do you help your clients navigate all of this?
It can really be overwhelming if you try to take the DIY approach, right?
Yes.
Which we don't encourage folks to do.
Yeah, we always say when people come into our office, we cannot do what you do. You probably can't do what we do, and you probably don't want to do what we do. It's very confusing. Retirement can be confusing. It can be scary.
And they change the rules all the time.
All the time.
And it's hard to keep track of everything as you sit there at home when you're not doing this full time. So we really try to break it down for folks using our Retirement Ready roadmap. Yeah. And it really all starts with that Retirement Ready review. Because for us to build a plan, a roadmap for somebody, we have to know, what does their dream retirement look like?
Yeah. Everybody's retirement, their version of their dream retirement is different.
Their goals in retirement are different.
Maybe they want to travel.
Maybe they just want to stay home, and legacy is really important because they have a child or a grandchild that has health issues. They're concerned about what's going to happen to those folks when they pass away. So really the first step is sitting down and doing our Retirement Ready review to find out, for this particular client, what does their dream retirement look like?
Yeah, define that. That's the first step. And from that, we can start building the roadmap. And we call that our Retirement Ready roadmap. And we'll get into that in a little bit. That's a whole nother discussion. It's going to be fun. But from there...
Yeah, why do we build a plan? Like, what is the purpose of a retirement plan at the end of the day? Yeah. It's to make our clients feel confident that they're on track for their dream retirement. Yeah. Because it is overwhelming if you're trying to look at all of these things individually. You know, the best thing about our job is at the end of this process, after we've given them their roadmap, people always say, wow, like, I feel so much better. After coming in and talking to you, I feel such much confidence for my retirement.
Yeah, for sure.
Give you some peace of mind.
Yeah, so let's talk about the roadmap.
Yeah, so we made it really simple when we're building this plan. What are the things we need to cover? ROAD. The R stands for risk. We want to review the risks that may affect your retirement. The last thing that we want is for you to have worked decades building up your nest egg. You've reached the peak of your earnings, the peak of your accumulation, and then have some external force come in and derail it.
At the very end.
At the very end, right before you're starting to take advantage of all that money that you've saved. What are those risks that we have to deal with in our retirement plan? Market volatility, that's a big one. Taxes and the increasing tax rates that are going to be coming down the pike here for everybody. We have to think about income in retirement. We have to think about long-term care and healthcare costs. There's a whole host of them, but we want to make sure we have a plan to mitigate those risks. As a lawyer, that's how I think, right? We have risks coming down the pike. How do we mitigate them?
Yeah. And then the second letter is O, and that stands for optimizing taxes and legacy. And taxes is a scary word. Everybody comes in, they start talking about taxes, but really that has to do with trying to shift money maybe from those IRAs, those tax-deferred accounts, to potentially some tax-free accounts for the clients while they are working and throughout their retirement, and potentially maybe for children when there is a passing legacy. Make sure we have that estate plan in place. That's a very important component.
That brings us to A, which is allocate assets. And really, that's just developing a diversified portfolio that, one, meets a client's risk tolerance, because everybody's different. Some folks are super conservative. Some folks are more aggressive. Yep. We want to have a portfolio that is blended to meet their personal risk tolerance, but also at the same time helps with their income plan, because we want to, set up that portfolio to pull income in retirement, that income gap we're always talking about, from safe money strategies. And that really brings us to D, Tim.
D, last but not least, D has to do with distributing income. And that all comes down to that income gap. We talked about it a little bit earlier in the show. When you retire, become voluntarily unemployed, that paycheck stops. So usually there's a gap there, which is okay. It happens for most people. We need to figure out how to fill in that gap, how to cover those expenses. We need to figure out which accounts to pull money from and why.
This is such a great resource. Thank you so much for that. And if someone out there is not sure when or how to start a retirement plan, what would you tell them?
Call.
Yeah, take the leap of faith, right? Because it's scary.
It is.
That's the thing. It's scary because retirement planning can be overwhelming. And a lot of people are scared, but you just need to take the leap of faith, call, and get your questions answered.
And they can continue this conversation with you.
Yeah, we would love to sit down for that retirement ready review that we were talking about. That complimentary 15-minute phone call, low pressure, but maybe you can get some questions answered and some worries off your mind. What's the number, Tim?
Well, it's always the same number. It's 440-345-6900, Laura.
You can call, you can text the word ready to that number, and we'll send you your very own retirement ready toolkit, or you can also use the form that's going to be sent to you to set up that complimentary 15-minute retirement ready review.
And do it today. All right, let's take a quick break, but don't go away. You won't want to miss Tim at the Retirement Ready Lightboard illustrating how to build your fiscal house.
Building the house today with you.
Right back.
We went to Maine this summer. We go to Florida a couple times a year. We took the grandkids up to Michigan fishing, just living the dream right now.
Yeah, that's the one thing we really wanted to do was travel and adventure in our retirement. And we weren't even sure before, what we'd be able to do. But after partnering with Tim and Laura, it's like, okay, we're good. Tim and Laura were able to show it to us, visually show us, where it would go and how it would grow and how to diversify. And that, we'd be able to actually have fun and leave a legacy for the kids. When we come in, it's like visiting friends, and it's a partnership. They educated us so much. I thought we were fairly, knowledgeable about it, but when it comes down to it, there was a lot of missing pieces that were more about preserving what we have. Everything that they do is, pinpointed to us. This is our family.
Take control of your future. Preservation Retirement Services. Get retirement ready. Call today.
Women have a lot to be proud of. We get a lot done, but too many times we take care of ourselves last. If you're married, there's a good chance you'll outlive your spouse and all the financial decisions will fall to you. If you're single, it will be up to you to fund your entire retirement. That's a lot to carry by yourself. I'm Laura Schultz, and at Preservation Retirement Services, we can help to take some of that off your shoulders. It's time to put yourself first for once. We look forward to seeing you soon.
It was kind of scary because you're like, I have this pool of money, I don't know you, and I'm trusting you with this pool of money. To be honest, Tim is how I retired. I call it my knight in shining armor. He planned for things. And about 2 years ago, he kind of told me, you can go whenever you want. But when it came to making that call to walk away from the 24-year career I had, I panicked. And I called him and I'm like, okay, I need you to talk me off this leg. Ran through everything, was like, you're fine, you're okay? I'm like, yep. Gave my notice, I was ready. And I've been fine ever since. I called Tim my brother from another mother, yeah. We just clicked. We kind of bonded, and he explains everything. He's very matter of fact. He's very personable. I was totally okay with whatever he was doing, and best decision I made, 100% hands down.
Preservation Retirement Services. Get retirement ready. Call today.
And we're back with Tim and Laura Schultz on Retirement Ready TV, and we're talking about a variety of things that will impact your retirement plans. And we hear the words allocation and diversification discussed a lot. Okay, but how do you help clients figure out how to allocate and diversify their portfolio?
Well, it's not a one-size-fits-all strategy, of course. So the number one thing that we do when folks come in for that retirement ready review is we have them take a little risk quiz, because what we want to understand is what is their personal risk tolerance.
Absolutely.
Some folks, and we give them a score, 1 being the most conservative to 99 being the most aggressive. Most folks fall somewhere in the middle, but we have some folks that are 20 and some folks that are an 80. And any number is okay. Yeah. There's not a right or wrong answer, but we want to make sure then when we're developing that portfolio, when we're allocating their portfolio, if you're a 20, we don't want to give you a portfolio that's an 80 that's super aggressive.
Or vice versa.
Or vice versa, either way. So we always start with that risk quiz to understand our client's particular risk tolerance. And then we have to start thinking about income.
Yeah, it comes down to that budget we always talk about. And we ask our clients when they come in to fill out a budget. And most of the time they're like, oh, I don't want to do that. But when they do it and they realize, oh my goodness, I had no idea how much I'm spending every month, then we can figure some things out, because it just comes down to money in versus money out. I mean, it's a lot more complicated than that, Laura, right?
It is, but they have that fixed income coming in potentially from a pension or Social Security, but usually there's that gap. So we need to know above and beyond Social Security, above and beyond your pension, how much money do we need every month?
And if we need income, we want it to come from that safe, low-risk accounts, which is probably a good idea to go to the Retirement Ready Lightboard and draw this visually, give you a better idea what I'm talking about.
Looking forward to it.
Do it?
Let's go.
I don't know.
Okay, I'm out.
All right, so while Tim makes his way over to the light board, and it's just us ladies, it's time for Women Get Retirement Ready, our special segment each week where we address topics on the minds of our female viewers. What they care about.
This is my favorite, because really at Preservation Retirement Services, we've dedicated a whole piece of our practice to women in retirement, because just nobody's talking about issues on the minds of women.
You know, so neat.
Yeah, for sure. We had women just come in and say, I've met with my husband's financial advisor. He doesn't feel like my advisor because he never looks me in the eye. He doesn't ask what's on my mind. And for me, I look at someone like my grandmother. She just passed away at 101 years old. She had an amazing life. But when her husband passed away unexpectedly, she didn't have that relationship. She didn't have that go-to person that she could say, the worst thing happened. My husband passed away. Help me.
Help me with all of this. I'm overwhelmed. I'm scared. And someone with no judgment, we'll sit down and have a great conversation.
For sure. Whatever place you are on your financial empowerment journey, I'd love to sit down and start that conversation. So that's why we have Women Get Retirement Ready. It's my favorite. It's my passion. It's what I really love to do. And on our show, we get to answer questions that are on the minds of females across the CLE. And so actually, if you would like to send in a question and be featured on our show, please just text the word question to 440-345-6900, and you could be right up there.
Okay, so we have our first question, and this is from Mary. She's agreed to let us air this. We appreciate that. Thank you, Mary. Are you there?
Hey, Laura, I keep hearing the term retirement income, but where does that come from if I'm no longer working?
Mary, that's a great question. In retirement, it all comes down to income, or another way to think about it, we were just talking about it, is paychecks. Where are you going to have that fixed amount of money coming into your bank account that you do now? When you're working, probably the best thing about your job is you get that paycheck every 2 weeks. You know what it's going to look like, because that paycheck covers your bills usually and more when you're in retirement, or when you're working. But when you're in retirement, oftentimes whatever your fixed income is may not cover your budget. What are different ways we can generate income in retirement? What are the different paychecks we could have? Well, it could be Social Security. A lot of folks have that as their number one source of income. The average Social Security in America is just over $1,700. So oftentimes that's not enough. You may have a pension as well. If you're one of the lucky ones, if you're a public servant here in Ohio, or have a job with one of the 15% of companies in the private sector that still offer pensions, you may have that as a fixed paycheck coming in every single month. Most folks don't have both a pension and Social Security, but there are the rare few that do. Above that, maybe you have a rental property. So you have fixed income coming in from a rental property. Now, there's pros and cons of having tenants. If they're good ones that pay the rent every month and take care of your house, that can be a great source of retirement income. And then the fourth one that most people need, and this is what they need a retirement planner to help them figure out, is taking withdrawals from your own personal retirement savings. Those IRAs, 401ks, 403bs, TSPs. And that can be, you have to figure out, if you're taking those withdrawals from a retirement plan, how am I going to do it? Some people say, I have a retirement income plan, I'm just going to draw 4%. Well, that's a formula, but that's not a plan because we have to liquidate. If you have money in the market, we have to sell stocks or bonds or ETFs or mutual funds to get that $2,000 extra we need a month. Some folks use annuities. I think Tim's actually going to help us by talking about this at the Lightboard. When we're developing an income plan for clients, helping to figure out from which account are we going to take that income gap, we always refer back to this fiscal house that Tim's going to build for us.
Perfect transition.
It is.
Listen over.
It is. Let's send it to Tim.
Are you ready?
Hey, Michelle, I can hear you loud and clear. I just love this Lightboard. So today, I think we're going to talk about portfolio allocation, and that can be a confusing topic. And a lot of people that come into our offices here at Preservation Retirement Services, when we start talking about portfolio allocation, we can see that kind of gets glass-eyed and they get a little scared. So we've come up with an analogy to try to get our clients to understand the concept of portfolio allocation and the different buckets of money, if you will, how we spread it out to make portfolio allocation work in your favor. So this analogy that we've created, we call it our fiscal house or our money house, if you will. So I'm going to attempt to draw it right here on your TV screen today. So here's how it works. We have our ground, and then we have a bunch of nice little trees here, right? Here's our trees, happy trees. So there's a lot of wisdom out here in Northeast Ohio, and I'm sure a lot of you out there have built a house, or at least you understand the idea of how a house is built. And when you start building a house, what do you start with first? Yes, the foundation. So you start with the foundation, okay? Now the foundation of your fiscal house, that is going to be your safe money. Okay? Now, I gotta be honest here. The foundation of your house really isn't the sexiest part of the house, right? And excuse my language, but it isn't, right? It's down in the dirt. A lot of gray, a lot of rebar down there. But the foundation really is the most important part of your house, because if your foundation isn't strong, level, secure, all the niceties of your home could fall in on itself if your foundation isn't strong. So in your fiscal house, your foundation is your safe money. That's the money that you can't lose unless you choose to. These are your bank accounts, CDs, government bonds, fixed index annuities. And we always start with your foundation. How much money should be in your foundation depends really on your income gap, because we use your foundational money, your safe money, to generate an income stream if we need it, if we are short on income when you retire. Because remember, at retirement, we don't call it retirement here at Preservation Retirement Services. We call it voluntarily unemployed. And when that time comes, your paycheck goes away. So it's up to you to manufacture paychecks. So a lot of times there is a gap on how much you need to cover your expenses. We use your foundation to do that. So the next thing that we do on the house, right, when you're building a house, is what? These are your walls, right? These are your walls. And just like when you build a house, have insulation. And in your fiscal house, these are the products that are negatively correlated to the market. I mean, the market is going down. We build in accounts to offset that loss. These are going to be corporate bonds, REITs, and commodities mainly, things that produced yield. That is going to be the walls of your house. And then the last part of your house, of course, right, is your roof. There we go. And your roof has to do with your risk money. These are your accounts that can take risk on. These are your stocks, your bonds, your ETFs, your variable annuities. And just like in Ohio here, Northeast Ohio, our roof takes on the brunt of the weather that happens in Northeast Ohio. In your risk money, these accounts take on the risk of the market around us, such as the wars that are happening right now, inflation. But your risk money is used for liquidity and your growth. That is your opportunity for your portion of your portfolio to grow. So that is the fiscal house that I drew out for you. I hope you like it. The risk money, insulation, and the foundation. Those are the three components. I hope you like my trees there. I hope that made a little more sense to you. I got to get back to the set and see Michelle and Laura. I'll see you next week here on the Lightboard.
That was fantastic. Let's bring Tim back in here. I have to say, I appreciate your trees. That's a nice touch.
them?
I'm getting some Bob Ross vibes.
They're awesome, right? I mean, that was a house. That's the closest I'm going to get to building a house. I like the money houses. That's easier for me to do. But I hope when I drew that, it kind of made sense of the different types of money and where you need to pull money from. I hope that made sense.
Helps us understand.
Yeah,
I hope it makes sense for everybody.
Yeah. Sure. And if folks at home want to continue this conversation and they're like, I have my own questions that I want to get answered face to face, how does that happen?
Well, 440-345-6900. It's the same number we say every week on the show.
You can call, you can text. We'll send you a form to fill out to get your own Retirement Ready toolkit or potentially to set up that Retirement Ready review. If you want a fiscal house of your own, if you want to see Tim build you some trees, draw you some trees.
I'll do it.
All you have to do is call or text 440-345-6900.
We appreciate it. We'll be back with more after this break.
Women have a lot to be proud of. We get a lot done, but too many times we take care of ourselves last. If you're married, there's a good chance you'll outlive your spouse and all the financial decisions will fall to you. If you're single, it will be up to you to fund your entire retirement. That's a lot to carry by yourself. I'm Laura Schultz, and at Preservation Retirement Services, we can help to take some of that off your shoulders. It's time to put yourself first for once. We look forward to seeing you soon.
We went to Maine this summer. We go to Florida a couple times a year. We took the grandkids up to Michigan fishing. Just living the dream right now.
Yeah, that's the one thing we really want to do is travel and adventure in our retirement. And we weren't even sure before, what we'd be able to do. But after partnering with Tim and Laura, it's like, okay, we're good. Tim and Laura were able to show it to us, visually show us, where it would go and how it would grow and how to diversify. And that, we'd be able to actually have fun and leave a legacy for the kids. When we come in, it's like visiting friends, and it's a partnership. They educated us so much. I thought we were fairly, knowledgeable about it, but when it comes down to it, there was a lot of missing pieces that were more about preserving what we have. Everything that they do is, pinpointed to us. This is our family.
Take control of your future. Preservation Retirement Services. Get retirement ready. Call today.
And we're back with Tim and Laura Schultz of Preservation Retirement Services. And now I have a question that some people might be scared to even ask. Is it too late for me or a friend who's about my same age to start retirement planning?
I think the answer is no.
No,
Of course not. But we get it, though. We get it. For a lot of people, you're working and you're just going through life, and retirement seems so far off, right? And then all of a sudden you wake up and cold sweats, boom, oh my gosh, retirement's just a couple years away, and you get that panicky feeling. And you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have a plan, especially, in today's world when people are jumping around from job to job, and you might have accumulated all these, old 401ks.
That financial junk drawer we talk about.
That you always talk about, right? Yeah. And all of a sudden you're like, oh my gosh, what do I do?
And I find, especially we just had our Women Get Retirement Ready segment, I find particularly with some of our female clients, the question on their mind if you haven't started a retirement plan is often, do I have enough? And a lot of people are so scared that the answer is no, that they just kind of bury their head in the sand and they don't take any action. Yeah. But no matter where you are in your retirement journey, you can make positive changes going forward. Oh. You can figure out, potentially maybe you need to reduce risk if you're worried about running out of money. So you can change your allocations in your portfolio to be less aggressive, or maybe it's really a budget issue.
Yep.
And what you have control over is how much money you spend. And so maybe you just need to put some constraints on yourself about that disposable income every single month if you're worried about your retirement plan. But no matter where you are, sit down now and ask a financial professional for help. They could be, I always make the analogy to a personal trainer, right? When you start going to the gym, sometimes it's nice to have that person there that gives you accountability. Sure. A financial planner can help you, like we do at Preservation Retirement Services, get that retirement ready roadmap and make sure you're staying on track, particularly with the budget.
Yeah.
It's important.
Everybody's so close, right? You build that junk drawer is such a good analogy because you have all these statements, you maybe have these products, but they're scattered. You just need to sit down with a fiduciary, retirement planner, and help put it all together.
And your plan will look different if you're 20 versus 65, or if you're working for 20 years or 2 months. But no matter where you are in that journey, it's time to get started and ask the questions you need to ask.
Absolutely.
That all makes so much sense. So thank you for my friend.
That's other person.
Yes, that needs help. Okay, so I know everyone's situation is different. So having an in-depth, no judgment conversation is always a great place to start. But speaking of when to start thinking about a true retirement plan, how does your age and market volatility play into a person's financial plan?
It's a great question, Michelle. We use the rule of 100 a lot when we start talking with our clients. It's a powerful financial rule. It's kind of simple, but it really opens up people's minds to risk in their ages. And the basics is you take 100 minus your age equals the percent of your portfolio that should be exposed to risk. So if you're a little bit younger, 100 minus 50 is 50. So only 50% of your portfolio needs to be at risk. Maybe 50% can be safe. But as we get close to retirement, 60, right now you're talking about 40% should be at risk for pulling back, and 70, 30% pulling back on the risk as you get older. That's just a stepping stone. That's where we start.
And really the reason behind that is when you're 20, you can the stock market always goes up and down. There's no getting around that.
It doesn't go like this, right? It does one of these things.
Sure.
Yes.
And when you're 20, you're able, and you're contributing to your retirement accounts, you're able to withstand those ups and downs because when the market's down, you can wait for it to come back, and you're also buying low. But when you get into retirement and you're not adding to those accounts anymore, that's one. And two, you're actually pulling down from those accounts. You're covering your income gap with withdrawals. A 20% loss is very devastating to come back from because you're not adding in anymore. It's called the sequence of return.
It's like a double whammy.
For sure. And so that's why market volatility is so important. As you get to retirement, a lot of folks want to reduce risk so that they can withstand those markets up and downs, which we know are all coming. They're coming no matter who your
They're going to be there. Yes,
they're going to be there.
Yeah.
We just have to plan for it and diversify our portfolio accordingly.
And know our own comfort level. And sometimes just talking it out with someone helps you, right?
It does.
Nice, safe environment.
No judgment. Wherever you are on your retirement journey, we'd love to sit down and start that conversation.
And it starts with the same phone number every week. Just call 440-345-6900.
You can call, you can text the word READY. If you do text READY, we'll send you your very own Retirement Ready toolkit. You can also use the form there to set up your Retirement Ready review, that 15-minute introductory phone call where Tim and I can take you where you are and start you down the path to getting retirement ready.
We'd love to.
Thank you for making it so easy. And you do have a website too.
We do, yes. retirewithprs.com. Just go to the website, retirewithprs.com.
This has been a great show. Thank you so much
Fun show.
for helping my friend and for the great drawing of the trees. Okay, we'll see you next time.